I'm Dan Runde. I hold the Schreyer chair at CSIS. I'm very pleased to be hosting this conversation about innovations in human development with the Minister of Planning, Ahsan Iqbal. Mr. Iqbal went to Wharton. Don't hold that against him. He's got an MBA. He has an engineering degree. After he decided to serve his country and run for office, I think it's a very honorable thing to do. I like politics just like the minister does. Was successfully elected. And I had the privilege of visiting Pakistan last summer, the U.S. summer, and spent a week in Islamabad. Thankfully, with many thanks to my friend, Mr. Asif Sheikh, who's an affiliate here at CSIS, and my friend, Mr. Amr Reza, who's one of Mr. Sheikh's business partners with a company he's got called Paxterra. And Mr. Reza and Mr. Sheikh introduced me to the minister. And it was one of the most interesting conversations I've had in my 5 years at CSIS, and probably one of the most interesting conversations I've had in government or public service in the last 15 years. I visit about 15 countries a year. I meet a lot of smart people. I'm at a think tank. But the minister is literally one of the smartest, most capable, most interesting minds anywhere in the world. And so it's a privilege to have the minister here. And the government of Pakistan is very fortunate to have such a capable public servant in the government right now. And he put something on the table, and this is the reason I want to have this public conversation, because I think it's important that we socialize it and operationalize this idea. He said to me, and he'll tell you about it, but Pakistan has its own money. It's like many other middle-income countries, and wants to finance its own. It's financing its own development. We've done a series of reports on things like domestic resource mobilization, and there are a series of important changes that are going on in Pakistan that you'll hear about. I wrote an article in Forbes.com in July. We got 130,000 downloads not because I'm a great writer. I'm an okay writer, but the point is that the story that was told isn't being told, and we need to get it out. And if we'd had this conversation 20 years about the country of Colombia, or we'd had this conversation about 25 years ago about one of the Balkan countries, or we'd had this conversation 30 years ago about some of the Central American countries, and we said, there's potential in Colombia, or there's potential in the Balkans, or there's potential in Central America. We say, oh, no way. And so I think there is a mismatch in the country brand to what's actually going on in Pakistan. And I wanted to tell that story, and I want to operationalize the minister's ideas. It's a privilege and honor. I'd like to have the minister please come up and join me for this armchair conversation. Please join me in welcoming the minister. Thanks a lot. Thanks. Minister, we just had a very interesting lunch. I see my friend Ambassador Rafael, Ambassador Wayne. If they please come on up front, Ambassador Wayne. Please join me up here. I want Minister Iqbal. I think it's important to start briefly with the context of the changing context of Pakistan, because I think we get a steady diet in Washington and in the American media of security and challenges. Now, I'm not saying there aren't security issues and they're not challenges, but I would argue in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in Colombia, all strategically important countries, we have a very sophisticated and complete relationship. But that's not what gets overweight. So I think it's very important that you set the context that we're in a very different place, I think, than, say, 10 years ago in Pakistan. I think it would be important for you to set the record straight and to share that with this audience.
Thank you very much, Dan. First of all, I'm really delighted and so pleased to not only be here at CSIS, but meet such a galaxy of experts and students who want to learn about Pakistan. I must also acknowledge that I am very humbled by all the nice things you have said, but those words have put me under terrible pressure also that I have to at least try to come up to your expectations. Nevertheless, let me begin by saying that USA and Pakistan have shared a long partnership. And after Pakistan earned its independence in 1947, we had a choice to make. As a newly independent country, at that time when there were two superpowers, the first Prime Minister of Pakistan got a state invitation from Moscow and from Washington, D.C. And it was a difficult decision, but it became very easy decision for our leaders because the genesis of freedom movement in Pakistan led by Mr. Jinnah, who was a constitutionalist, a believer in rule of law and democracy. Pakistan aspired to go way of United States for the values of freedom, liberty, enterprise, democracy, rule of law, which it aspired. And since then, we have a long history of partnership. And I normally tell my US friends that this is a very interesting partnership. We entered into a marriage very early, and in last 65 years, at least on 3 occasions, we have tried to file for a divorce. But on all the 3 occasions, divorce did not turn out to be an option, and we started living together again.
So I'm Catholic, and we don't believe in divorce either, so we're stuck with each other.
So we are stuck with each other. So if we are stuck with each other, we might find a relationship in which we live together happily forever. So therefore, in this relationship, I think there is so much we can do to carve out a future which is a win-win future for both countries. Unfortunately, one element which was missing in our relationship was that we structured this relationship due to the geostrategic scenarios of the past only through the prism of geostrategy and security. There was so much more in Pakistan, and there was so much more in this partnership which could have translated this relationship into a very broad-based relationship. As a result, if you come to Pakistan and try to find out what are some of the major hallmarks or monuments of this relationship, normally you will find most of the monuments or hallmarks of this relationship within the limits of cantonment areas.
Meaning military.
Military.
It's a military, so mill to mill.
They would either be in the air bases or in the cantonments in form of hardware or military equipment. But outside of that, there are very few monuments of cooperation. Our government, when it came into power in 2013, we inherited a legacy of a relationship which was again shaped by the security imperatives of the past. As you know that in 2013, Pakistan was unfortunately painted very negatively in the media. Newsweek ran a story that the most dangerous country in the world is not Iraq, it is Pakistan. Many economic pundits were saying that by 2014, Pakistan might default. So there was a lot of pessimism in 2013 when we came into government, but our government had an agenda. We wanted to change the narrative through focusing on the strengths of Pakistani society. And as a result, let me share with you, just in 2.5 years, Pakistan is now coming with a new identity for the international observers, for its own people. We have been able to cut down the energy shortages from 18 to 20 hours to 6 to 8 hours. And we are well on way to overcome the energy crisis by 2018. Thanks to a very successful security operation, Pakistan is much more secure and safe place, and we have been able to put our country on a path where now the extremist elements are almost running for their some haven outside Pakistan, but they have not an inch of territory inside Pakistan where they can hide. So the state is on offensive, and these extremists are on the run, which has made Pakistan terribly safe place now compared to what it was 3 years ago. Economy, we are from $6 billion up to $21 billion in reserves.
What kind of economic growth have you had?
Well, for 7 years, Pakistan was stuck in the trap of 2.5% to 3% growth rate. But for the first time in 2014, we crossed 4%. Last year, we had a growth of 4.5%. And this year, we are expecting close to 5%. So we are on a positive trajectory.
One of the highest growth rates in the world.
It is, I mean, certainly compared to Asia, we are still, not as high as we should be, but in the world, yes. But the constraining element was energy. 2% of our GDP is constrained because we do not have enough power to run our factories and agriculture sector. So as soon as we are able to overcome power shortage, we will have 1.5% to 2% straight jump. Above, yeah. So we are hoping by 2018 we should be doing 6%. Now, where I want to start is that when we came into government, we decided to chart a new course for Pakistan, and through a very broad-based consultation within the country with all the stakeholders, we have prepared a roadmap, Vision 2025 for Pakistan. And we are hoping that by 2025, Pakistan should be in the top 25 economies of the world. It is a little ambitious target, but it is not impossible target given the endowments we have in our country. We are located at a very strategic location, which
That's
has a
probably
potential.
the understatement of the year.
Which has a tremendous potential to become a hub of geoeconomics.
Yeah.
We are at the heart of 3 engines of growth: South Asia, China, and Central Asia. And therefore, one of the central planks of our Vision 2025 is to connect this region through north-south and east-west connectivity and improve peace in the region so that 3 billion people in South Asia, China, and Central Asia may form a larger bloc, economic bloc, which will not only bring growth for the region, but will also contribute to the revival of the international growth of international economy. So in order to move forward, we find that the biggest block we are facing is the block of human resource deficiency in the country. So therefore, government started from very beginning on a very ambitious agenda of human resource development. And we have decided to commit a significant portion of our own resources towards human resource development. And to just give you one example, that in higher education, in only 2 years, we have nearly doubled the budget for higher education in the country. We are hoping that we will set up a university campus within the next 3 years in every district of Pakistan. There are still about half districts in Pakistan which do not have a university campus. And how it translates into an opportunity, I will give you one example from my own home district, which is Narowal, a rural district in Punjab. We did not have a university campus, but 2 years ago when we started a university campus, 1,000 students were enrolled, and out of 1,000, 700 were girl students. This year, another 1,000 have enrolled, and about 670 are girl students. So this is the opportunity which higher education bringing to the doorsteps brings for these students. And when I asked them, if this university had not opened, how many of you would be pursuing a university education? And only 1% said we would still be pursuing. So in order to expand this base of higher education, which is still about 5% in our case compared to 10 and 15% in other countries in the region, that pretty much requires that in next couple of years we double the space in our higher education. This requires faculty. And one important initiative we have started with the United States as part of our strategic partnership recently is opening of a new door of cooperation, that is US-Pakistan Knowledge Corridor. I have studied here, and I know the value of US education, what it means for development of a developing country. I always share this story. One of my professors, when I was studying here, recalled that if you want to see at the radar which country is taking off in the next 10 years, you should come and look at the PhD programs of our universities.
Of the United States.
Of the United States. In 1950s, if you had come here, you would have found Japanese students all over. And if 60s, if you had come here, you would have found South Koreans everywhere. And next decade, they took off. And during 80s, when I was studying here, I very distinctly remember 3 nationalities, which were in very large numbers: Chinese, Indians, and Malaysians. And in 90s, they took off. So I think this is an area where Pakistan, unfortunately, despite being a strategic partner, has not been able to harness as well as it should have. So now we have developed a roadmap to develop 10,000 PhD scholars in different areas, not just STEM fields, but also in the social sciences, which are very much needed for our development and growth. And government of Pakistan is allocating its own funds and resources for development of these PhD programs. However, we do realize that if we have to do it on a full fee structure, probably we might end up getting 2,000 or 3,000 scholars.
Not 10,000.
Not 10,000. So we are now working and discussing with US universities and administration ways and means of partnership through which we can leverage our own resources and maximize the value to have our goal of these 10,000 PhDs get trained in US universities over next 10 years. And I'm sure that if we can do it in next 10 years, the following decade will be a decade of very fast economic growth in Pakistan. So this is a journey which has brought me in to United States. We are having a strategic dialogue meeting on 29th
on Monday.
February, on Monday, with US administration, and we hope that we can operationalize this very important future-making initiative between Pakistan and the United States.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let me make a couple of comments and ask some additional questions, but I think it's very important to underline that Pakistan itself is going to put a lot of money on the table, significant money on the table, to finance these PhDs. I think if you are a person who thinks about Pakistan and Washington and care about security-related issues, I want to make the argument that if we can increase growth and increase formal employment in the ways that the minister is outlining, and to get Pakistan to be one of the top 25 economies, which is ambitious, but I think it's important to have aspirational goals, that the United States, or if you're a security person, you're going to get what you want. And so it's in our interest from a security standpoint, it's in our interest from a business standpoint. I just think it's important to underline the size of Pakistan and the opportunity of Pakistan, because I don't think it's not underlined enough. And I said, I'm going to do this on my own nickel, so I'm not getting paid by anybody to say any of this. I'm not getting paid by the government of Pakistan. I've been paid by anybody to do this. I just think this is a big strategic opportunity, and that's why I've gotten so much attention to the stuff I've written about this more than anything else, because no one else is saying this. And so it seems to me I'm onto something. So the point is, and the point would be, is if you look at today, I think Pakistan is the 5th largest population in the world. It's going to be the 4th most populous country in the world. It's going to have as much as 400 million people. So there's no way, we're not getting divorced. We're re-upping. We're going to have children. We're going to, build a bigger house. We're going to be condemned to living together, and let's make it work. Yeah. And so my view is, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of young people youth bulge. So in Asia, in the 60s, many governments invested in their people, and you can either have a demographic deficit or you can have a demographic dividend. you're spending, how much of your percent of your GNP is now in education today?
In the past we were down, again, due to unfortunately a checkered political history where we had non-democratic governments for almost 35 years. And under every non-democratic government, allocations for social sectors went down. And whenever democratic governments came back, they tried to revive them. So we were down to 1.8%, and now we have, I think, gone over 2.4%.
And you're going
a goal
towards?
That we will reach 2000, by 2018, 4% of our resources will go to education.
Which is sort of the zip code. If you're a serious developing country or any serious country wants to put a certain percentage of their GNP into education, that's the kind of number that you need to have, especially with a growing population and the kinds of needs that Pakistan needs.
And you know, Dan, picking up on your remarks, I would like to say that there is time now, time has come that the world should look at Pakistan through different lens. We have 2/3 of our population which is very young, and it has same aspirations and same goals like youth has in United States. Very recently, I went to Quetta city, which in the past was very much in the eye of the storm, and it had very security-related incidents also. And I was very moved when I went there to the Women University campus. And there is a monument there where 2 years ago, there was a terrorist attack on that university. And in that terrorist attack, 14 girl students lost their lives. And after 2 years, when I visited that university, the vice chancellor of the university showed me that monument and made a very strong statement. She said, "Sir, you know, when this incident took place 2 years ago, we had 1,200 students. And today, I have 4,500 students." So that shows the resilience, the commitment, and the courage of Pakistani youth and of Pakistani girls. Today in our higher education institutions, we have about 1.5 million students, and 47% of the students in our universities and colleges are female students. So this is the new emerging face of Pakistan, where girls are now increasingly coming into the mainstream. If you go to any of our medical colleges, you will find 70% girl students and 30% male students. And you know, you begin to wonder where have all our boys gone. So these are some of the new images which are emerging in Pakistan, and I think it is through this prism we need to look at Pakistan and partner.
The point I'm making, and I think the point you're making, Minister, is we need to open up the aperture of the way we think about Pakistan. We're looking at it through a series of distorted lenses in Washington. I am not saying there are not challenges. And I'm not saying there aren't issues we have to address. I think there absolutely are. And I think everyone can list them. Everybody here is intelligent and can list, we can use the 10 buzzwords that people use when they do a word association. But it's short-sighted and it's a distorted lens. And it doesn't, we're in a dead-end conversation if we continue on that path. And I think if we open up the aperture and think about these issues, we're going to get to solve some of the more intractable problems over time if we take a longer term and let's call it an indirect approach, if I can put it that way. I want to put another couple other things on the table that I think are important. Your government took over as the first democratic transition to democracy, democratic transition from one democratically elected government to another democratically elected government in 70 years of Pakistan. Is that correct?
Yep.
The other thing I was struck when I was there is there was sort of an alignment of three things. There was an alignment of civil society, there was an alignment of the civil government, and there was an alignment of the military on security issues. And so I know we like to talk a lot about security issues in Washington as it relates to Pakistan, but I would make the point a little bit to what the minister implied, that we're going to be able to talk about all the things we're talking about today because the conversation in Pakistan has shifted, I think, significantly on a number of the security issues. Not all of them, but on a number of them, on enough of them, that if you're a bad guy, if you're one of the bad guys and you want to go out and be a bad guy in Pakistan, there's a hell of a lot less support on the street. If you want to go and raise money for the bad guys, you're going to get beat up. You go to a gas station and fundraise for the bad guys, you're going to get that's a health risk to yourself. So the point is that nobody supports this. It's very limited public support for the bad guys. And I think it's very important to understand. So I think you've got a democratic transition. In 2014, Minister, there was a series of popular protests. And historically, would you agree with me that in the past that would have been the moment for the military to intervene, Imran Khan, et cetera, and the military stayed out of it? Does that mean the military is not active? Yes, the military is a presence in this country, but did they intervene in the democratically elected government? The answer is no. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think very few people understand it, and I was always, pointing this out, and I'm very glad after Dan visited Pakistan and he wrote a piece in Forbes, which showed to people a new emerging face of Pakistan. Prior to that, I always complained that whenever one comes to DC and goes to think tanks, you come across Google experts on Pakistan. They Google Pakistan, they read few articles from 80s and 90s, and they produce yet another article which is only reaffirming the Pakistan of 90s. So post 2000, many new changes have taken in society. I will like to share with you some milestones in our recent political history. In 2006, two major political parties got together and signed a Charter of Democracy. What it essentially said that the democratic forces are going to respect each other's mandate and they will compete and collaborate. I remember from one of my business class professors, he said that a mature industry is one where players can simultaneously compete and collaborate, compete for the market share and collaborate for the industry share. So we lacked this ability in the past where democratic forces will collaborate to defend democracy in the country. Their own fierce political battles will oftentimes cross the red lines. So in 2006, we had this understanding not just between two major parties, but all democratic parties then co-opted this declaration that we will run democracy by some code of conduct. And that has enabled not only a return of democracy, but also given tremendous strength. Second most important milestone in our recent history was 2007, when undemocratic president in the country dismissed the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. That brought in Pakistan an unprecedented new civil society led and supported by all democratic parties uprising and a movement for rule of law and independence of judiciary. That has given our judiciary tremendous power and freedom that today we do not fear that neither on executive side civil government nor the military has the muscle to bend judiciary to its advantage and they make their independent decisions, which is a very big support for rule of law cause in the country. Simultaneously, through this struggle, we saw emergence of a very strong, powerful, independent media. And oftentimes we say that our media probably is even more freer than in the United States because, its freedom is quite limitless.
Yeah.
So that is another very important development that has taken place in Pakistan. In 2008, when elections were held, the democratic parties which were opposed to a military dictator or an undemocratic president, despite all the pundits saying that he will be able to cobble up a new government through King's Party and win the elections, 2/3 of the seats went to the major democratic parties. After 2008 elections, People's Party came and formed government. Despite there were moments when they were very unpopular, there were temptations for opposition to make an agitation to overthrow the government. Opposition did not indulge in any adventure which it would have done in the past because we wanted the tradition of democracy to be strengthened. And for the first time, a government completed its tenure. In 2013, we had an orderly democratic transition. And then in 2014, there was a massive kind of a uprising, not localized in the Islamabad area sit-in by one opposition party, which persisted for 8 months. If it was passed, probably democracy would be derailed. But we saw that there was so much maturity in the system.
The military stayed in the barracks.
Military stayed in the barracks, and there was a non-violent ending to this crisis without having to lose any life. So I think the democratic traditions and the institutions and pillars are now becoming strong, and that is what gives us hope that Pakistan, with its political stability, rule of law, independent media, now is on a different course, and that needs to be provided momentum with economic opportunities. I think with the young population, we must understand, if you today ask Singapore that would you like to go to war, they would say never. If you ask Malaysia or if you ask South Korea, would you like to go to war? They would say, no way. I mean, because once there are economic alternatives, once there are opportunities of economic growth, nobody wants to take up war or conflict in any part of the world. And that is the challenge of our part of the world. Not only for Pakistan, but I would also like to say that let us not repeat the mistake of 1979. Where many times one gets to hear from sections of intellectuals here in States as if Pakistan is to be blamed for what we have in that part of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say very humbly, we are to be blamed, we are in it together. When Soviets invaded Afghanistan, Pakistan did not have the telephone number of Osama bin Laden or his jihadis. They were all introduced to us from outside. And after the last Soviet Union soldiers left, everyone washed their hands and left poorest of the poor society with dumps of ammunition and seeds of a militant ideology which was introduced to fight Soviets. If at that time $5 billion fund had been set up for economic rehabilitation and de-radicalization of Afghan society, today free world or USA would not have to spend $650 billion. So I think this is an important lesson from history.
This is Charlie Wilson's war, right?
Yeah,
the end of Charlie Wilson's war at the end of the movie, right? Or if you read the book, that's your point.
Yeah.
How many Afghans live in Pakistan right now?
Well, again, you hear stories in the media that there are a few thousand refugees in Europe and there is a stir all over the world. But the world seldom recognizes that Pakistan has hosted over 3 million Afghan refugees for past 3 decades. And that has been at a cost to us also.
So you didn't build a wall?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Minister, tell me, I want you just to share with this group that we were having a very interesting conversation downstairs. I think it's important for this audience in this Washington audience to understand what is attractive about the United States. It's not necessarily our foreign aid, and it's not necessarily our military aid. And you were saying some interesting things about what makes America strong and what is the strength of the United States, because I think that we don't hear that enough.
Yeah,
I think they need to hear
what we are saying is that in the past, in this US-Pakistan partnership, the focus was always to get military hardware. Well, military hardware for certain security reasons is fine. But we personally think that the real strength of USA does not lie in its war machine. It lies in its real power machine, that is the universities of United States. So if we can get connected and we can provide opportunity to these 10,000 young boys and girls, not only they will bring diversity, not only they will bring good mathematical or social science backgrounds to contribute towards the research that takes place in a more global setting in US universities, but they will get the intellectual training and they will get those intellectual tools which they can take back home and help us rebuild the society. Because we have the hardware, but where we are lacking is the software. And I think through this, we will have that requisite software to make our plans successful.
Minister, this is not unusual. So if people hear this, many people who think about Pakistan in the South Asian context, or think about Pakistan in the Pakistan context. I was in Brasilia 2 weeks ago. If you talk to President Dilma, she has made a commitment to train 100,000 engineers outside of Brazil because they need 100,000 engineers for them to go to the next level of their society. They're sending many of them to the United States. So this is not unusual. So if people, I know it's in this context, this is new, But for countries that want to move up the curve of development like Pakistan does, and it's in all of our interest that it does. We want Pakistan to be rich, stable, prosperous, and our friend. And we want to have them have as many trained young people as possible participating in the formal economy. And that is in America's interest, that's in Pakistan's interest. It's in India's interest, it's in China's interest, but it's really in the US interest. And so I think this is a great idea. But we do this. There are a lot of other serious middle-income countries like Brazil that are doing the same thing. So let me push a little bit in terms of how we operationalize this. So I think one thing is how do we get, I think many of you have higher education degrees in this audience or have studied in the United States. There's a temptation. You either meet somebody here, you get married and stay here, or you don't want to go back, you study, you get the scholarship, and then you say, well, I was just kidding, I really don't want to go back to Peshawar, I really want to stay in Waterloo, Iowa, and et cetera. So can you tell me, please, tell me, Minister, how are we going to get folks to return to Pakistan whether the government of Pakistan pays for this, and I want to come back to other modalities of how we might finance this or what ways in which to think about this.
Yeah, first of all, let me say that our experience in the past has been very promising. We have trained in the last decade almost 7,500 PhDs, and we have a success rate of between 70 to 80% where these successful PhDs have returned to Pakistan. And the biggest factor which actually contributes towards their return, that each of these PhD earners has a guaranteed job when he or she returns to Pakistan in a university. So that actually, makes it attractive for them that they don't have to do a job search. They know that as soon as they go back, they have a job for them, which is guaranteed. As I was telling you that we are undertaking a massive expansion plan in our higher education sector, and that requires faculty because, while we expand the quantity side, we also have to provide the quality dimension. If we do not have enough faculty with PhDs and good education, then the quality of higher education will not be, very high quality. So therefore, it is now, there is a demand, there is a gap. And what I find in the new generation of Pakistan, there is a great passion to go back and make a difference. And that, I think, is coming because of the information revolution. People are becoming more aware of what is happening in the world, and they want to be part of a change, and they want to help their country also learn from the success and follow the success of other countries. So there is a growing urge amongst our youth, and I always, tell them that Pakistan is such a great country. If you have a dream, it will reward you with your dream. In 1983, when I was applying for my admission to Wharton, one of the questions they asked was, in 10 years, where do you see yourself if we give you admission? And I remember very well, I wrote that I would like to be serving my country through a public office. So I came in 84, graduated in 86, went back. I did not belong to any feudal family or a middle class or an industrialist family. I was from a middle class family who worked 20 hours in library, 2 teaching assistantships, along with full course load. I go back, in 7 years, I took oath of office as an elected member of National Assembly.
I love
so
it.
if, someone like me can realize his dream, I don't see that why any young boy and girl today, if they go back to Pakistan and Pakistan cannot reward them. So I think now this is an aspiration in our youth. They only need an opportunity to get those skills, to get that education and get that training. And if we can provide them this opportunity through this 10,000 scholars who will come to USA, I think they will go back and make a big difference. And let me also say that I think that increasingly with the economic challenges which also confront other countries as well as United States, this is the biggest power, the soft power, United States can exercise to make a difference in other countries.
So I want to make a couple of other points and ask a couple more questions, then I'm going to open up. You've been a very patient audience. So I want to make an editorial comment. I had the privilege of speaking at NUST, National University of Science and Technology. My friend, Mr. Sadiq Sheikh, who is a Pakistani American, lived the American dream as a Pakistani American, is on the board of NUST. He's also on the board of George Mason University. They're both really high-quality universities that have ties to Pakistan, partially because of this diaspora. But I was struck at NUST what a high-quality campus it was, and the quality of the faculty and the quality of the students. So I want to talk about the role of the Pakistani diaspora, because you're going to put some government money up. And I want to come back to the role of the United States, because I don't think the U.S. is very generous to Pakistan and has had a long-standing partnership, but I want to come back to that. But I want to underline that this is a Pakistani initiative with Pakistani government money. But let's talk about the role of the Pakistani diaspora. I get the sense that there are some probably members of the Pakistani diaspora in here, and I think there are probably folks in the Pakistani diaspora watching this on television or being filmed. And so what can the Pakistani diaspora do to help you to leverage these monies that you're going to put forward for this?
Well, I think Pakistani diaspora can do a number of things. First of all, they can all engage with their own state governments, governors.
American state governments.
Yeah, American state governments, the higher education departments, the universities where they have been educated. And if they can show them the value that is there in this partnership, I think they can become our
ambassadors.
Great ambassadors to make this happen. So Pakistani diaspora is spread all over United States. And particularly, I would say, Pakistani American physicians, APNA, has a very strong network all over United States. So they are all very closely linked with the US political system and academia. And through them, we can build bridges, because in United States, there is not a centralized education system. It is all on state basis. So we need a very dispersed engagement, and this dispersed engagement can come through our diaspora, which is spread all over United States and is very well educated. And one good feature of Pakistani diaspora in United States is that they're all very highly educated, and I think they can make a big contribution.
So I want to give a plug to Team America. I'm on Team America, and I want to just talk about the fact that the United States is very generous to Pakistan in terms of its assistance, but this is not an assistance. This is not an ask for more foreign assistance, this conversation that we're having. And that the United States is, of course, assistance on military assistance, but on economic assistance, the United States has the largest funding for Fulbright scholarships to Pakistan. But it's not, so I think it's very important that we know that we underline that the United States is doing a number of different things. Republican and Democratic administrations are trying to do things, and in partnership with the Pakistani government, there's an ongoing dialogue. But it's important for us to understand that it's the largest Fulbright program in the world, or funding is for Pakistani students. That's a good thing. However, and this is not a call for necessarily more foreign aid, there are more Iranian students studying in U.S. universities than there are Pakistani students studying in U.S. universities. Now, I don't get that, and I think we need to rectify that, given that Pakistan, I think, is 3 times, 4 times, maybe it's 4 times the size of Iran. Now, and so it seems to me that we need to rectify. And so I think the minister's idea is a good one. And so I think there is a role for the U.S. government in a number of different ways. And there's a role for the diaspora. There's probably a role for business. And then I think there's a role for universities. I think one of the links is that with some of the U.S. funding that's been used to kind of open up channels with different universities, is to use that as sort of a starting point where they have Pakistani students or where they've built a partnership. It's about expanding it with Pakistani government dollars. So I think, are those the things that you're thinking about, Minister?
Yeah, exactly. And also, I would also like to, share with you that it's not that we think that having 10,000 PhDs will fix all our problems. So this is at the top, and this is very critical because this is also immediate. But we also are working on the entire value chain of knowledge and education sector. From as basic as reforming the school curriculum. We have recently established National Curriculum Council, which is working to change the curriculum from memorization-based paradigm to creativity, innovation, critical thinking, problem-solving skills, team learning approach. We have set up an initiative to reform our examination system, which in collaboration with University of Cambridge examination system, so that our examination system, tests students on more critical thinking rather than their memorization skills. We are also redoing our teacher training programs in partnership with the provinces because education is a devolved subject. We are also now...
Just like in the States.
In the States.
We are like in the United States.
Very actively promoting entrepreneurship amongst university students. We are setting up incubation centers. And let me tell you, Pakistan has recently become the 4th largest e-lancing country in the world, where our young boys and girls are now making their apps and putting them on the cyber world, and one of the best IT entrepreneurs. We are now emerging as the next attractive IT destination after Bangalore has become very expensive. So, there is a huge potential of knowledge base in Pakistan. However, as I was saying, that we now think that this narrative of US-Pakistan cooperation should change from a security partnership to a knowledge partnership. And if we can expand that, it will mean win-win for both countries and be a major transformation in a region which is now yearning for peace since last 2 decades of lot of conflict in that region.
So, Minister, let's just talk about, you wrote the 2025 plan, so let's just talk about some of the sectors that you think, you've spent a lot of time thinking about this. You have an MBA, and you're the Minister of Planning. What are the 5 or 6 sectors that are going to drive growth in Pakistan? Because I think it's very much related to this issue of education and training, because I think it's very important for people to understand why it's important to have 10,000 trained PhDs specifically to this.
Yeah, first of all, I think as we were discussing on the lunch also, Pakistan's biggest, and I mentioned, bottleneck is energy. We need lots of energy to generate our future growth and meet our growth targets. So right now, there is a massive opportunity and investment in energy sector.
So if you're an American company and want to make a lot of money, you would be investing in the Pakistan energy sector.
So we are developing hydel projects. We are also developing water projects. Under Vision 2025, we are looking at an integrated water, energy, and food security paradigm, and in which not only we are working on energy, but also on water projects. And Ambassador Rafael is here with her. We always discuss the opportunity that United States can have by investing in the construction of the Amir Bhasha Dam, which would be the largest and highest water reservoir which Pakistan needs for its next 10 years to have food security. Otherwise, they'll be serious.
And, let me just interrupt for a second, and I want to keep going on the list, but I wanted to say that the United States was the constructor of one of the partners in a dam in the 1970s.
60s.
And 60s, 70s, and Pakistan could be the Saudi Arabia of hydropower, right? You've got more water because of the Himalayas than people realize. If you think about the geographic location of Pakistan, right? And so and so this issue of building another hydro dam is very important.
We have only, we have a potential of 70 to 80,000 megawatts of energy in the hydel capability.
It's amazing.
And we are only tapping about 10 to 15% of that right now. So there is a huge, immense potential. Then there is a lot of potential in infrastructure, because in last 2 decades there was no investment done in rail and road infrastructure. In urban infrastructure, there are huge opportunities. As far as
I'm sorry to stop you again. Just on this, and urbanization. This is the 2% of the rural population moves to the city every year in Pakistan. It's the most rapidly urbanizing society in South Asia. So for this point, to your point.
And as far as the agriculture and industry side is concerned, very few people know that Pakistan has a fairly developed engineering base. We produce sugar plants, cement plants, automobiles, tractors. We have a very strong automotive industry. We have light engineering industry clusters. We produce one of the best surgical equipment in the world. Our sports industry is, world famous. All the were
soccer balls.
World Cup were manufactured and done in Pakistan.
I own about 20 of them.
So, there is a huge potential in industrial sector. Then in agriculture sector, we are almost in the top 10 of any crop you take up. We are in the top 10 of wheat production, top 10 rice production, top 10 cotton production, top 10, dates production. So, however, the basic infrastructure is very commodity based. So now government is very actively working to develop cluster based approach in which we develop the value chain for all the clusters and we invest in value addition. We are very strong in cotton and textiles, but we want to move towards garments because, for every dollar we earn by exporting yarn, we can have $14 of earning by exporting garments. Similarly, as I was mentioning, we are the 4th largest dates producer in the world. Half of the dates are lost in the fields and remaining half are exported as commodity, and maybe in Dubai or elsewhere they are processed and a beautiful brand is put on them and they are sold for 10 times more value. So that is what we are now trying to do in Pakistan, trying to improve, invest in technology, bring our knowledge platform aligned with production platform. So with the investment we are making in 10,000 PhDs, we are also setting up an innovation fund where the PhD scholars will be provided research grants if they can come up with projects that will provide value to industry and agriculture. So, with the fusion of knowledge and production, I think we can create a knowledge economy which will also give us the resources to invest our future.
Okay, so agriculture, water, energy, infrastructure, IT, engineering, design. Okay, so these are all sectors that are all important if you want to move up middle income to upper middle income. That's totally within the realm of possibility, and having been to Pakistan, I believe this. And so it's quite clear to me that if you want to move up the chain as a country that is with increasing growth, you're going to need a higher capable workforce to do that, and you're going to need to be able to train these folks, and that's why that's why the PhD training program in the United States is a component and a complementary component to the other pieces, whether it's what the United States is providing or what the government of Pakistan is providing or seeking to provide. So I think it's very, very important. Well, look, you've been a very patient audience, but this is the conversation I've wanted to have about Pakistan for about a year in Washington, and I'd like to think that this has been unique. I don't expect this to be the only one. I'd like to do a lot more of these because I think there is a lot to be talked about. And so this won't be the only time we do this conversation, but I really I want to now open up the conversation. I know there's a lot of thoughtful people, and I think we've got microphones. I'm guessing there are going to be a lot of hands, so good. So I'm going to try and get we're going to try and bunch a whole bunch of questions together. This woman here, this gentleman here, and this woman here. So come on, run here quickly, please. Microphone guy. Come on. Name and your affiliation, please. And keep it short because we're going to get lots of folks.
Hi, I'm Anna Danielson from International Arts and Artists, and my question actually is about the education component. I'm just curious, I'm planning a trip, and I'm just curious what you would say to 3 levels, U.S. universities, professors individually, and students individually who would like to go to Pakistan.
Okay, I want to put that in the parking lot, Minister, because I want to capture 3 of these. If you give me the microphone, I'll do this. Okay.
Sir, my name is Nasir Naveed. I'm from Pakistan, doing PhD from Pakistan and is on research here in Middle East Institute. My question is, instead of sending students, 10,000 students in United States, why don't you think that to open campuses of US universities, 2, 3, 4 in Pakistan, which can save a lot of money and give expertise to local students and local faculty members as well. And one more thing, there is also a possibility that we can open some offices of think tanks like CSIS. We can have their office in Islamabad, which can provide jobs of more people and which can also be useful to producing quality research. So instead of just putting money on these things, why don't invest in for a long time? And one more thing, Pakistan has lifted sanctions on Iran a few days back. So is there any possibility that we can import gas from Iran more quickly? Thank you.
Okay, this woman here, please.
Hi,
Hope it's working.
so first of all, I'm a Fulbright scholar from Pakistan. I'm doing my master's in public policy from
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I'm a Fulbright scholar from Pakistan, and I'm doing my master's in public policy at Georgetown University. So thank you for USAID, as you said, as being one of the largest donor for the Pakistani program. My question to Mr. Iqbal is about the fact that you mentioned about PhD scholars and how it is important to initiate the change and bring them here. So I'm really interested in child education, and Pakistan has a really low net enrollment rate. There's this gender parity index, which is really affected in our country. So I want to know, what will you do on a national level for children who are not, as in for like a primary enrollment, for middle school enrollment, and even high school enrollment for that matter? Because when you look at Latin American economies, they've done drastic changes. They come up with conditional cash transfers to incentivize parents to send their kids to school. Shouldn't Pakistan be at that stage now where we actually increase our net enrollment and literacy levels at a lower level as well? Thank you.
Tough crowd. But good question. Okay, so let's take those, and then we'll get another group. It's good.
Well, I mean, I think as far as the first question is concerned, I think there are tremendous opportunities for faculty and student exchange programs. Pakistan's, as I said, the security situation has drastically improved over the last 2-3 years. There was some reluctance on part of faculty and students traveling to Pakistan, but now I think there is more openness. So there should be more exchange programs. So, I mean, we would very strongly encourage.
People were reluctant to go to Colombia until the country brand changed, and that should change.
And every time, I have visitors from United States, so I do tell them that when you go back, please tell people that Pakistan is not what your evening television programs will make you believe. It is a very different country. So the other thing what we are now trying to focus is that we should have joint research projects between US faculty and Pakistani faculty. And we have on table a proposal that if we can set up a research foundation jointly funded by US government and Pakistani government, we will also put in money. That will give incentive for US faculty to support their travel, to do their research. And I think this is missing. From 60s and early US-Pakistan engagements, what we saw was an emergence of an authentic Pakistan scholars in US academia. Professor Weinbaum is sitting there, and there are some people from his age whom you could say that they devoted their lifetime to studying Pakistan, or the few more scholars. But in the last 9/11, post 9/11, 15 years of very strategic engagement, I did not see any authentic Pakistan scholar emerge in US academia. And there is a great, I think, gap there. And that is primarily because of lack of research and engagement between our academicians. So our Higher Education Commission is now actively supporting, under US AID, certain research grant programs, we are actively supporting joint research between US and Pakistani faculty. I think that will bring our universities together, that will bring our scholars together, and they will have shared interest in many of the areas which are of interest to both Pakistan and United States. Students can do internship programs or their summer programs, or maybe, we should encourage our universities to send some students from here for a semester in Pakistan. So they will go there and they will study Pakistan better. US universities in Pakistan, yes, we are certainly working on both levels. It's not that if we send 10,000 PhDs, that's the end of it. We are also developing our indigenous PhD programs so that, they also have better quality and they can support those students who do not get admission here. But I mean, why I'm saying 10,000 here? Because, your real learning happens in a certain ecosystem. It's not just the university. It's the whole environment in which you get your education. That gives you a very broad global perspective. The beauty of US PhD at higher level is that the strong academia and industry link, the kind of linkages which exist here between academia and research and industry, probably for us to develop that tradition will take time. So I think there is a great value to come to this ecosystem and have that education. Well, Iran, sanctions and gas, we are working on a number of energy projects. Right now, as you must have seen, that Pakistan recently concluded a very major LNG deal with Qatar. I think that's going to provide us immediate relief in energy. We are also actively working on a regional connectivity program, TAPI, which is Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India gas pipeline.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, a real thing. It's just
Okay.
it has been inaugurated.
Okay.
So we hope that
You never know. There's all these alphabet soups of pipelines, and you don't know how much of them are real and how many are not real.
So this was inaugurated just a few weeks ago, and the work has started. And I think over next maybe 2 to 3 years, it will be there, and it will it will connect these countries. It was, as you very rightly said, in books or in papers for several years, but just few weeks ago, there was an inauguration ceremony in which heads of state participated, and it has been commissioned. So we are working on number of regional connectivity energy projects, which will give us a lot of energy. Children enrollment is very critical. And the good news is that we are alive to this issue. 1st of April to 30th of April, we are launching a nationwide enrollment campaign in which Prime Minister, all the chief ministers will lead this campaign, and the inspiration for this comes from a very inspiring experience in 1999 when we were in government in previous tenure. On International Literacy Day, we said that rather than do a seminar in a 5-star hotel, let us do something on ground and bring 100,000 children to schools who are out of schools. Initially, education department was reluctant. It's a very big target. I said, no, let's persist with it. We mobilized the communities, president, prime minister, chief minister, every member of parliament, everyone was mobilized for 1 month. And in the evening, against a target of 100,000, we got 876,000 students. And we did not have the space to retain them, unfortunately. So there is this huge demand, but I think we need to reach out, expand the capacity in the schools. And with this full 1 month long campaign, I'm very hopeful that we are committed as a sustainable development goal also, that by 2018, we must have 100% of our school-going children into schools.
Do you want to tell, you got a new job 3 days ago. Do you want to share with the group?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very honored that UNDP recognized me as one of the 3 champion ministers for sustainable development goals. We have learned from the mistakes of Millennium Development Goals, where we could not do as well. So this time we were proactive, and Pakistan is the first country where Parliament of Pakistan has adopted sustainable development goals as Pakistan development goals. We think that is our own agenda. If we have to educate our children, if we have to improve health of mothers and infants, we have to provide our people drinking water and sanitation. We don't have to do because it is an international convention. We have to do it for our own sake. If we have an aspiration to develop, we must do it for our own sake. And that is the whole idea and drive that international community has expressed an ambition that we must eliminate poverty, we must provide education, health to people. But I think how we are doing it differently from Millennium Development Goals is we are giving our people ownership of this development agenda, and we want them to see it as their own aspiration, as their own ambition, rather than look at it as some kind of an international obligation.
Okay, so you've been, I see this gentleman here. I also am going to call him Robin Rafael. So this gentleman here, Robin Rafael, and I want to hear from Senior Associate Asif Sheikh. So the 3 of you. So you got the floor first.
John Rothenberg. I lived in Pakistan for 8 years during the Afghan Mujahideen, with the Mujahideen, both in Quetta and in Peshawar. I believe strongly that female education and male livelihood opportunities are the answer to both the population bulge and the and radicalization, even here in the United States. I traveled probably more extensively than almost any other, I think, American during that time period. I was all over the Fatah. I was all over the now NWFP, but now Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. I was all over Baluchistan with the UNHCR and also with NGOs. My background is in education and vocational training. Two of the things that I used to see all the time was when I would go to a Pakistani model school, if it was during exam times, there would be stacks of books and young men surrounding it, giving answers to the test takers. And one of the other things that I used to see all the time was that I ran, in Balochistan, I ran a vocational training project for CRS, but I also oversaw them for later on for UNHCR in NWFP. And what I used to
You
see
get
was
extra credit
the
points if you
Afghans,
keep it short.
yeah, I'm sorry. The Afghans would get jobs much faster than the Pakistanis because they were better trained. So my two questions because of that. One is, what is being done about educational corruption? And two is, what is being done that currently addresses not the guys that are going to college, but the guys who need a job?
Okay, I would like to have Ambassador Felt join the conversation.
Thank you. I'd like to push your time horizon a bit forward. Imagine that your government would stay in power, win the next election, and stay in power another 5 years, and so you had an extra 5 years in your time horizon. What would you do differently, or what would you add to your list of priorities, or how would you reshape things, or not, if you had that extra time? I know you have a 2025 time frame in terms of your vision, but in the next 5 years, what would be different?
Okay, and I want to hear from Mr. Asif Sheikh. Where is Mr. Asif Sheikh?
I sat down in the hopes that you wouldn't notice me.
Oh, gosh.
Mr. Minister, you cited downstairs, and you've cited again here, that there are a number of moving parts, but critical to the success of the Pakistani economy is solving the energy crisis, and particularly the electricity crisis. It's a complex institutional issue, financial issue, and resource issue, and I wonder if you can comment on how that will be addressed. And I know, and perhaps you could mention China's role in that as well.
Well, I mean, as far as the first observation is concerned, I think that's very apt. We are now, the good news is, I also, as mentioned earlier, that the society is waking up to the call of gender disparity in education. And the female enrollment rates growth is twice that of enrollment of boys. So that shows that the society is now catching up and waking up to it. We are expanding the girls' education program, and recently again between President Obama and Prime Minister Sharif's joint statement, there was a mention that there would be another partnership between US and Pakistan for girls' education at school level, so that we can improve the quality of education for the girls, so that...
What % of girls are in school?
I think now it depends from province to province, but I would say that, it is very close to 1-to-1 ratio in certain developed provinces, but in Balochistan, in certain areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we have 30 to 40% enrollment, which we are wanting to increase. But as I said, the number of schools which are being opened and the enrollment is doubling. And we have set a goal that by 2018 and 2020, we should eliminate gender disparity at school level. In higher education, we already have equal numbers. As I said, 47% of our students in higher education are female students. So it's almost, equal. So, I mean, we certainly agree that female education is the key to many problems. We have also found that female empowerment has an important social contribution. So Prime Minister has recently started a major initiative for self-employment of youth and offering microfinance as a poverty alleviation intervention. And we have made mandatory that 50% of these loans and microfinances must go to the woman. because the experience shows that when you empower a woman, her ability to contribute towards family is far greater than the male member. You know, if there is extra income with a female, she would spend it on the education of her children, on the uplift of her family more than the male member would have. So therefore, we are empowering female as an important economic contributor also. Technical education is another very important area because we have large number of students who drop out also. So for them, we have started a special initiative to give them technical training, and government is giving them stipends. And we are, now reforming the technical education infrastructure so that they become useful members. The second question was, from Ambassador, that what would we do, what will be our priority if we are back in government for next term? I think this term has largely gone in damage control, in stabilizing the economy. When we came in government in 2013, as I was mentioning, growth rates were down, economy was bleeding, it was having a nose-down dive, energy crisis had gone out of control, 18 to 20 hours load shedding, security situation was bad. So first 3 years have largely gone to stabilization. We worked very closely with IMF. We will be probably the first government in the history of in our history which will complete entire IMF program, because normally IMF program requires structural reforms. And governments have run out of stamina to carry out those reforms, and every time IMF program was left in between because we failed to meet the conditions of reform. So this will be the first time a program will be completed. So we have done this stabilization in economy, in energy, in security. I think now the time has come to put Pakistan on a higher growth trajectory. So in the next tenure, our whole focus will be how can we have a sustained growth of 8% for next couple of decades. We need 1.5 million new jobs for the new youth which is entering the job market.
Every year.
Every year.
1.5 million new jobs every year in Pakistan.
In Pakistan. So that can only happen if the economy grows 7 to 8%. Now that is possible because we have so much hidden potential and our benchmarks are so low that only, if we make the right investments in human resource and infrastructure, Pakistan, I think, has a huge opportunity before it matures to something like 5% or 4% growth rate. We can run at least 2 decades on a very high growth platform.
Minister, let me just interrupt. I want to make sure this issue of education corruption, which I think was a question the gentleman asked.
And I think on education corruption and also corruption in social sectors, we are one of the leading countries which is using mobile technology for reform. So what we are doing is we are giving smartphones to our education centers and to our health sector employees. Through their location, through the smartphone, they are always spotted, their attendance is improving, and we are making them also get access to teaching methodologies. We are working on number of new projects which will provide tablets to teachers so that they have better techniques. But this is in the start. We have a huge number to cover. But I think technology has been the biggest help which is coming. And through smartphones, the applications which our education department is introducing is helping us to ensure that teachers are there and student attendance is reported in time and we have better control. We are also developing certain independent third-party verification systems, and we are involving civil society and NGOs to help us, and particularly the community participation is very important to ensure that the quality is being delivered. So there are a number of initiatives which we are taking.
So my friend Mr. Sheikh asked about energy, but and I think it's related to this issue of corruption. I don't know is it a top, if you polled the populace or the citizenry of Pakistan, what concerns about corruption, is it a top 3 issue in the country?
It used to be number 1 issue, but I'm happy to say for last 2 years, Transparency International, which compiles a corruption perception index at global level, has dropped Pakistan in terms of corruption for 2 consecutive years. Or alternatively, Pakistan's standing on transparency has improved for 2 consecutive years. So we are making headway on that, and that is bringing more confidence of investors. And let me also share with you, recently we made a major deal in energy sector, which was won by General Electric. And it was so transparent. Nobody asked any kickback. We saved $1 billion. And chairman of General Electric specially flew to Pakistan to acknowledge that this was one of the best transparent governments they have seen in the world doing business with them.
That's great. So just on the issue of energy and China, I think Mr. Sheikh raised that.
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit about that.
Now, energy has been a very major problem for us. So now we have number of initiatives. I think the United States has also helped in some projects, but we needed a scale which was much bigger. And in the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor Initiative, which has been recently started, where China has promised $46 billion of an investment, $35 billion of which is coming into the energy sector. And this $35 billion covers all the areas. For example, it has renewable energy, solar and wind. It covers coal energy. Pakistan has a coal deposit in Thar, which was untapped for always. If we produce 5,000 megawatt per year from that coal deposit, we can produce electricity for next 200 years. So
you're the Saudi Arabia of coal,
Yeah,
as
coal
well
also,
as the
yeah.
Saudi Arabia of hydro.
Exactly. So we are now setting up these coal plants based on supercritical technology, because we are also mindful of our environmental responsibilities. So
Who's financing that? Is that the Chinese?
Yeah, they are coming in private sector investment in IPP mode.
Right, because the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank and the US Exim Bank and US OPIC will not finance coal projects. Now, that my view is, I think that's a mistake, because sooner or later, countries like Pakistan that are the Saudi Arabia of coal are going to finance their own coal development. So we can choose. We can be hoity-toity about it, or we can have the Chinese finance it. We can choose. It's not a question of that they're not going to develop their coal. They're going to develop their coal. But we can choose.
But also, you see, technology is now offering solutions. There is supercritical technology, which has 45% efficiency compared to subcritical, which was 35%. And now there is even ultra supercritical technology, which is even almost as friendly as gas emissions. So
no, that you're being science, data, facts. My head hurts, Minister. That doesn't work here in Washington. You're not supposed to talk about coal's a four-letter word in this town. You're not allowed to talk about it. I mean, this is too much data and facts. My head hurts, Minister.
So the other thing is hydel. The next is hydel, and we are using hydel energy as a Dasu Dam. And the Amir Bhasha Dam have been started.
I've been told, too, that we're not supposed to do hydro anymore. We're not financing at the Asian Development Bank or the World Bank hydro projects, or we have a hard time doing it. Who's financing your hydro?
World Bank. The Dasu Dam is being financed by World Bank.
That's
good. Then we are also investing, as I said, in renewable energy, solar and wind. So there is a mix. But the bottom line is we need to bring down the cost of generation.
Geothermal as well.
Yeah, and then LNG-based power plants, because now the fuel prices have gone down. This new LNG deal which we have made, we will be setting up 3,600 megawatts in next 2 years through LNG-based. So it's a whole range of different energy projects. This investment should have been made 15 years ago. But we are having to make it because for 15 years, no one made this investment. And mind you, not only that we inherited a power generation deficit, we also inherited a transmission and distribution of, obsolete infrastructure. But today, if I have 10,000 megawatts by magic, there is no way I can transmit more than 16,000 megawatts. So we are having to invest in upgradation of transmission and distribution system. There, United States companies have great opportunity because energy efficiency and transmission, they are very strong. And we have a dialogue with the US Energy Administration in which they are helping us do an integrated energy management system so that we can do it efficiently and at low cost.
So let me just make another editorial point. I'm going to call a couple more folks. So China, you share a border with China, if I'm correct, right? So many people have to remember in Washington that Pakistan is neighbors with China, among other neighbors. China sees Pakistan as not as a problem to solve, but as a business opportunity. And so my point to our friends in Washington is we have to look at Pakistan as an opportunity, not just a problem to solve. And so I think, and countries like Pakistan have new options today. They don't have to necessarily partner with the United States. They can partner with other folks. So I think this is something for us to think about. Is we need to think about this as an opportunity, not just Pakistan is a problem to be solved. And I say that flippantly. I know there's some thoughtful other people I want to call on here. There's a woman with a scooter. There's a woman with a scooter. Sorry. And then there's another woman here in this third row. And then there's this woman in the back there with the very glamorous glasses. I like those glasses a lot. So, okay, there's three.
Hi, my name is Marlene Davis. I'm with Motorola Solutions. And I wanted to comment on the China comment that you mentioned. U.S. companies do see Pakistan as an opportunity. In fact, the beginning of January, there was a delegation of 20 U.S. companies that went to Pakistan, Motorola Solutions included. And we had the opportunity to meet with many of the ministers of Pakistan, decision makers, and government officials. So we're very bullish on Pakistan, and we hope that the China investment is not going to swerve your decisions on giving business opportunity to U.S. companies. So we look forward to
So don't
working
forget
with
about
you.
us.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank
This woman here, and please comment on that afterwards. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Natalie Thielen-Helper. I'm also from International Arts and Artists, along with Anna Danielson, who asked the first question,
Did you guys pack the audience? Or? Right. Thank you. Yeah.
So she and I are hoping to visit the National College of Arts in Lahore sometime in March or April. And I guess my question would be, we've talked a lot today about STEM and the social sciences, but what would you say about the role of the arts in Pakistan's development and economy?
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
STEAM as opposed to STEM, right?
Yeah.
Or this sort of thing. Okay. And this woman back here, please.
Hello, my name is Mehek Tausif. I'm an Atlas Corps Fellow from Pakistan. So I'm serving in Pakistan as I'm here as a part of this traineeship. First of all, I want to add a comment on how important, because I'm part of this traineeship, I just want to add to the minister's comment on how important it is to bring in people from Pakistan to the US and training them on how, like a developed country like America is working, and, just sending them back and making the most out of that. My question to you is with regards to, as we all know, there's a lot of aid and assistance flowing in Pakistan. So my question is with regards to how Pakistan is dealing with monitoring and evaluation of the aid that's flowing in Pakistan, because in a lot of ways there's duplication of effort. A lot of different funding agencies are directed towards similar projects, and in some cases there's actually duplication of failed effort as well. So is Pakistan, is the government acknowledging that as a problem, and what are we doing to sort of combat that? What framework have we set?
Okay. There's a woman right in front of you. Yes, please.
Hi, to go back to the role of China.
Name and.
Oh, sorry. My name is Faika Mahmood. I'm a fellow at the Stimson Center. To go back to the role of China, I wanted to get your input on what you see as the challenges and prospects for the CPEC in the next year.
Okay. That's good. Okay. Let's do those.
First of all, on the Motorola thing, I think that US companies have a very good experience of working in Pakistan, and the companies which are already in Pakistan are doing very well. I recently visited headquarters of Cisco, and we had a very good discussion how they can expand their presence in Pakistan. And what we are also telling US companies, that they must now look at Pakistan as also a very important resource of their production chain. We are now urging on the US IT companies, particularly like Google and Facebook and Cisco and Motorola, that they should now set up research centers in Pakistan, because Pakistan has a very talented, young, English-speaking, IT-literate population. And the cost of doing business is, I think, very low as compared to some other developed destinations. So I think one major important strategic policy initiative for US companies is to look at Pakistan as a research and development destination also, where you can develop very economical models of your own research and development, and that will create a very strong link between US business and Pakistan. Arts, education, and culture is very critical. I think that is what defines a society, and it creates and fosters creativity in a society. And we are encouraging it, and very soon you will see that from next month we are also launching a major Brand Pakistan initiative, which actually will promote Pakistan's art, culture, and soft image. There is so much variety in Pakistan. There is so much color in our art and culture, which unfortunately got tainted and got overshadowed with the security situation. And now I'm happy to tell you that in last 2 years, as things have become normal, for the first time, Pakistan's movie industry has revived. So we are now producing Pakistan's own movies after a long time, which are doing good business also. So Pakistan art and culture is thriving. We just very recently finished Pakistan Super League, a major sporting event, which really again brought these international players to come and play as part of Pakistan's cricket league. So, after many years, Zimbabwe's cricket team visited Pakistan. For many years, no international sporting team would visit Pakistan. So Pakistan is coming back to normalcy, and art culture is not only a way to manifest who we are, but it's also a way to engage with other cultures and society and form bonds through art and culture. So that is very much on our priority agenda. Aid monitoring is very important. We do try to coordinate different development partners so that there is less duplication. But let me say that, Prime Minister's vision is we should depend less on aid. And we should try to develop more partnerships and take more ownership for what we want to achieve as a development partnership. So
let me just stop you there. What percent of the tax of the GNP per capita, or what percent of your taxes collected of your GNP? What is it? 12%?
Yes. It used to be 13.5% when we were thrown out of government by General Musharraf in 1999, and when we came back in 2013, it had dropped to less than 9%, about 8.5%. In 2 years, we have been able to raise it from 8.5% to 10.5%. And we are committed to taking it to 14% by 2018 and 2019.
And I don't know what percent of your economy or of your GNP is foreign assistance, but I bet it's less than 2,
very
3.
Insignificant, very small.
So whatever your taxes are is 10 times, multiples of whatever foreign assistance
is.
And so you're going to finance their own. Pakistan is going to finance its own development, similar to the scholarship program that we were talking about earlier.
And on the China-Pakistan economic corridor, I think are there any challenges? I would say that we are pretty much right now on track with the projects. Their financial close has been done. The energy projects are outside government. They are all through private sector investment. We have an energy policy which was open to all. Nobody was willing to invest in Pakistan. Even our own investors were at that time little shy. But I think at that time, Chinese business made a strategic decision, as you were saying, that they looked at Pakistan as an opportunity. So they came up with a commitment to invest $35 billion. That will give us about 17,000 megawatts of energy and also a transmission line. But that is not the only energy portfolio we have. We are making a major investment outside of China's portfolio through our own resources with the help of Asian Development Bank and World Bank. So we hope that 2018 we have 10,000 megawatts, another 15,000 megawatts by 2025. So Pakistan should be self-sufficient in energy for next 10 years.
All right. Well, look, you've answered 10 questions. There are a lot more here, but I promise folks we'd end this at 3:30. I want to ask everyone to thank the minister for being here, and please join me in thanking him. Thank you.